Okay, hey, we are now live. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Q&A with Severlin on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. How's it going, everyone? Thank you so much for being here on this Friday. We have got our executive producer, Severlin, with us. Say hi, Sev. How's it going?
How you doing? How is everyone on this snowy, wintry day?
It is. We for those of us in Massachusetts, we woke up after really a pretty nice spring, downstairs, out your window, whatever it is, to see a big bunch of snow falling on the ground, ice and stuff, and about 3/4 of an inch of kind of icy slush on the ground. What the heck, man? What the heck? But
Like, New England loves to break your heart.
it does.
It sets you up with this 170-degree day, and suddenly everyone takes out all their shorts and t-shirts, and then it hits you with snow after.
Yeah, nice. So what are we here today to do? We're really going to have an open Q&A with everyone on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. This is your chance to really ask about just about anything you want. Although, do keep in mind that we're talking to executive producer Severlin here, so some of the more in-the-weeds systems design questions, when is this specific, trait bug maybe or something like that going to get fixed? Some of that stuff is maybe outside of the scope of what we're here to answer today. But we are here to talk in fairly general terms about pretty much anything you want to talk about. So that's really the goal here today. We've got a lot going on ourselves. Next week in particular is going to be massive on the Lotro side because we have a meeting later today, but it's all but set that Monday is going to be the release of update 29.5. That is the next update to the Legendary Worlds, the Wastes, level cap 105, and then also the further adventures of Bilbo Baggins. So that's happening on Monday, and then on Wednesday we kick off our 14th anniversary. So we've got some login gifts and all sorts of other stuff that's going to be happening this week as well. So we actually have quite a bit we can talk about, I think, in general to fill some of these gaps. But we're also really mostly just here for your questions. So I guess, is there anything you wanted to say here, Sev, before we kind of maybe get right to it?
It's kind of tragic because I do like talking about nitty-gritty system stuff, but any class balance stuff is out of scope of what we can do in this kind of talks. So I know all of you people are like, what's happening with my class? That's an ongoing issue. Balance is an ongoing thing. We want to basically continue to hone that over time. So that is going to be a hard stuff. That's going to be hard. Okay, yeah. So going right in. There is someone is having an issue with Minas Morgul. That is something that I can look into. I don't have specifics on how the new store is doing since we did move to a new store, and there are, long term there will be things to iron out. So we'll look at the Lotro market and see what the issue with that is. I'm not sure whether you're talking about our new sort of landing page for stuff or you're trying to buy it for points. If you're trying to buy it for points, sometimes if you own bits of it, I know that it can cause problems. I apologize for that. That's a good thing to bring up. I'll look into it. Yep. The anniversary, yeah, I'm psyched. Next year, 14 years. Yeah. So awesome, having an anniversary that long. You know what I mean?
It's going to be good. So here's the skinny for those who need it. It starts Wednesday, April 21st, at 10 a.m. Eastern. It runs through May 11th. Shut off at 3 a.m. Eastern on the 12th. We've got some new rewards, including cosmetic torches. That's kind of one of the bigger things from this anniversary festival is we're going to be debuting cosmetic torches that can be wielded by your characters. There's also some new cloaks and some other wearable cosmetics. And someone had said, can we have a cluster of cats? I'm sorry. We don't have a cluster of cats. We do, however, have a cozy gray cat cosmetic pet. And I think by cozy they mean more like my cat Lizzie, as in able to fill up quite a bit of space, if you know what I mean. And so it's like a kind of a big gray cat, and so, maybe not a cluster of cats, but perhaps equivalent to a few smaller cats in size. And there we go. Then also we've got some new housing items that'll be in the store, and then the basic login stuff too. So you can log in once we go live on I believe it'll be Wednesday here. So after 10 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday, you can log in, and then you'll get your gift. I actually have to double check if that's Monday or Wednesday, but I think that's Wednesday. And I'll double check on that. So yeah, I'll get back to you on that. And that runs basically through the entire year and through March 31st, 2022. So you really have that whole year until the next anniversary kind of month kicks off to log in and get these login rewards. So we're going to have a page on that coming up here in a bit. All right. Any more questions you want to answer here?
Sure, there's a couple of them. One is the chat server. So after looking at the logs and at the perf, we're not finding a smoking gun on chat server. So what we're doing is we're working on new code snippets that will add functionality to doing logging. And we're also going to add code snippets to the client so that people can gather information for us if they're, like we have a lot of technical people that support us in order to track down that chat server stuff. So that's what we're working on now, is getting those deployed both on the server side and on maybe some client side stuff so people can help us with the chat server. Like, we've looked at it a number of times and we're not picking up there's no reason for us to be, according to our logs, there's no reason for people to be disconnecting. So something weird is happening there, and we're on that and we're moving forward on it. I apologize it's taking so long. So that will be something that you'll see. We will be deploying those tools soon. As for the Wildwood, yeah, I really like how the Wildwood kind of allows us to add content that isn't endgame, but with the missions, it allows endgame players to come in, play it, look at the rewards, see older content. So I think that was successful. The players responded well to it, and that is something that we would be open to doing in the future, that kind of content. As long as we don't feel as though it's detracting from the people who are at endgame and want to do endgame stuff, which I don't think it did.
Yeah, that sounds good. We do have some performance work I know that we're going to be working on as well here on the Lotro side. So we're definitely not done with all that work yet. So, yeah.
We did move we did test the chat server, moving it and changing the configuration of the chat and master server. Unfortunately, when we did that, our hope was that there was an interference, but there wasn't. The players responded that it didn't really help that much. So we did do that work. Unfortunately, it wasn't something that had happened.
Yeah, yep. What about, say, like loading lag, things like that? We've also had, say, some loading screen issues. I know that is also something that they're taking a look at and that we are doing some work on, hopefully here in the relatively near future.
Lag is ongoing.
Yep.
It'll be a long thing. We're going to be making small changes to work on lag. Right now we're working on chat because that has the big impact. But loading lag, one of the problems is our characters are just getting very big.
Yep.
So that'll be something that we have to look at and dealing with that. Like our new engineers are coming up to speed, so that's really exciting. And so we will definitely be looking at that, and we are looking at that. But there's not going to be a smoking gun of we've made a change and it's 100% better. It will be as lag is from our measurements. A problem of 1,000 cuts as we put on band-aids. Like, it will get slowly better, but not immensely better all of it.
Yep. Okay. Sorry, Amberlyn on Facebook. No, I am not body shaming my cat. I'm deliberately trying not to use terminology that would indicate my cat's large size as a problem. I love my large kitty. I'm just saying that these kitties that are coming in the anniversary are pretty large in size deliberately. They're kind of the bigger size because we have those little ones, and these are going to be a little bit more kind of cozy, I think is I guess the term they settled on. So yeah, so reloading from private encounter to world is the exact kind of stuff that I'm talking about that we're looking at. The reason we don't usually do old currency conversions is because we want old currencies to eventually you to feel like you've accomplished and finished that content and moved on. That isn't to say that old currencies from recent stuff, if you're talking about like so we have
old content and we have current end game, and the current end game is kind of like all the stuff combined with level cap. So when you talk about old currencies, if you're talking about currencies that are, part of the level cap but maybe not part of the latest update, that is a good thing to bring up on the forums and things. If we want all of the end game content to stay at least a little bit relevant, but if you're talking about making old currency relevant, we don't want to do that for two reasons. One is, like, we want you to feel as though you've accomplished and ended older content. We don't want high level characters to feel that they have to go back and do content that's under level for them. And also, like, we don't want people to feel as though, oh, I didn't save these items. Less of a problem with items that go into your barter, but like more of a problem like, oh my God, why didn't I save this?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad to see that. Like, why is this? You got to have the cat on. Did you have the cat on screen? And
Oh yeah. I've had my cat is a somewhat of a forum regular or a stream regular here now that we're at home.
Get focused on the question.
Yeah. Well, here's one. I saw one earlier, but have we specifically said when on our plan is for Brawler? I know I'm looking at the letter to see what we said in the letter, but we said Brawler? Did we not say Brawler in the letter?
Yeah, Brawler will be part of the pre-release for Good and Bad.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's what I'm getting at. I'm not sure we've actually said that yet, but that sounds good.
Well, there you go. Yeah, this is why you want me on stream, because I say stuff that we're not ready to announce.
Well, that's what I was looking. I know we'd said like later this year, but I don't know that we had actually specifically tied it to that. But that sounds good. It's about time that we maybe do so. So since it's pretty solid at this point, right? When can we expect a new housing area? Any thoughts on what our future might be for housing?
I would love to do more right now between we getting out the Further Adventures, which really looks awesome, and then doing the Blood of Azog, and then doing Gundabad. You probably won't see new housing this year.
Yeah.
Someone else talked about the Minas Morgul pack. I'll look into that. So thank you for bringing that up.
My suspicion may be that we're dealing with some purchase flow issues related to currencies, maybe certain vendors, or maybe geolocation issues. I know that we still do have a few people that when we changed to the Lotro market found themselves, having difficulty making purchases that CS has been working with. So hopefully we'll be able to solve that for you.
Yeah.
What's the deal with legendary items? What are we doing there?
We're doing work on it. The engineer is starting to do the back end work on Wednesday in order to do that update. And so that is still on the radar to do. Systems already has started the work on that and is poking around, certainly in the design and sort of ongoing their plans on it. I think there will be some cool stuff on that will make it easier and smoother for players to go in and still be exciting and give you plenty of things to sort of pursue there. So that is currently where we are with that. Now, one of the issues is that the legendary item as it stands is this huge, I don't think it would be untrue to call it labyrinthian. So as we get deeper and deeper into doing that, we want to make sure that if we move to a new legendary item system, the people with current legendary items are caught up in the new system. So it's not like all of your work seems like it was wasted. So there's two parts of it. Not only do we need a new system, but we need to be able to go in and make the old system convert to the new system. So that will be a lot of work. Because there's a lot of moving parts to the old legendary item system. So
I did want to real quick go back to a tech issue. We had someone specifically ask if we could take a look at Evernight, and I know that that's something that we have spent some time doing and probably we will be continuing to do, right? So
yeah, like Evernight right now is our biggest server. So anything that's ongoing is exaggerated in that server. So we're definitely looking at that. And when we look at these issues, and Evernight is kind of one of our target servers to see into that.
Yeah.
Wildwood missions. The Wildwood missions have a certain. So one of the things we want to do with missions is we have this vision of maybe consolidating the mission rewards so that missions not only offer a a small unique reward for the content, but also there's an overall reward for doing missions. And so as you go and do your weekly, when we release new missions, you can do those instead of your old missions in order to get stuff. So that's kind of the design goal that we're going to. And I would see that come to fruition probably later in the year with Gundabad and ongoing. So
we have a question that I think opens the door to something kind of neat. So I'm going to ask Bjorn the Red's question from Twitch. Have we considered another tournament server?
Yeah, we'd love to
open the door. Yep.
I would love to do another tournament server at some point. So we would love to do more legendary servers. I would love to do a legendary server, and we're in discussions because when we have the new difficulty tech, where you can choose your difficulty, it would be nice to have that available on the new server so that when people go in, they can level and group together. So that is an ongoing thing. We're testing that. What's hard about difficulty is you want to make sure there is enough variance so that people can find their difficulty comfort without causing players to feel as though all the players have different preferences. But usually we like to let the players figure that out for themselves. So all of those things are kind of converging. As to how we can best offer the players, a new experience there.
I don't know that we've talked a lot about some of our landscape work that'll be incoming, so perhaps this is an appropriate time to do so. Do you want to mention a little bit what we got going on?
Well, I assume that they just met with Matt, right?
Yeah.
So they did get a walkthrough. So Blood of Azog obviously will have a lot of quests and such in it. Probably the scope of Wildwood, and then Gundabad is pretty big.
Yeah.
So that will have a lot of the world builders are actually far along on that. But not far along that I haven't taken a camera and swept through it yet. So I'll be eager to see like the awesomeness of that.
I actually was intending to open the door to see. I don't know if I want to ask as the community guy, but I don't know that we've mentioned a lot about some landscape difficulty work that we are doing here in the near future. Do you feel comfortable talking a little bit about that?
Sure. So what'll happen is when you come out of the opening area, we want to offer you the ability to play at more difficult and more difficult things. And it's pretty cool because not only does it make the creatures more difficult, not usually that longer to kill. We don't want to make it feel sloggy, but it will be dangerous. But also when you're running around, oh my God, there's so many good questions I'm having. Okay, so when you're running around, the difficulty will spike when Sauron's eye is on you. So the Sauron eye happens, and like sometimes fire comes down and fills the area, and you have to get out of it before it ignites. And sometimes the creature's enraged, and you have to deal with that. And there's also a corruption mechanic where you can use your remove corruption skill to combat it. That it looked pretty cool. So we're still fine tuning how difficult that would be. Our initial tests were like, it actually wasn't difficult enough. Like, so we'll do that. One of the goals is that on the highest difficulty, you'll want to group even on the landscape. Like, if you're not grouping, you're going to need to be like, I mean, I'm not saying that a hunter or like pet classes won't be able to kind of exist and do on the landscape. Because when I say that and I say, oh, you'll have to group on the highest difficulty, that our ultra skilled players will be like, what was Severlin talking about? But like, hopefully it'll be a significant improvement. And this will go through any like solo instances as well. And this will be opt-in, obviously. When you go in, you can play the game as it exists now, if that's not your thing. So I think that that would be kind of really cool. And then there'll be, like titles, I think, for leveling with the difficulty on. So the people who want to try to do that can earn that. And it'd be kind of interesting to have like people wanting to group when they're leveling on the landscape because it's hard. So that'll be very interesting. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that happens, right? And the thing I like about being opt-in is that if you're more of a I want to see the world, like that's great. You don't have to do this. But this will be like a hard mode that will be optional. Yep. You will be able to change the option.
Shoot, my mic is off.
The question, but if you do, the titles won't stack. So the other thing is the difficulty won't happen in larger group content. So nobody will go into your instances, your larger group instances, and like cause problems because their difficulty set high.
Sorry, I was muted when I answered that last question. So you heard me, but they did not. So let me just real quick.
I heard you.
Yeah, you heard me, but they did not. So just real quick, that question was related to transferring from the closed game worlds. Went on that, and we mentioned that an engineer had done work on it this week. We are continuing to work to bring that to you, and we want to get this behind us as soon as. So yeah, that's what I said.
So, again.
Yeah.
Okay. There were a lot of stuff that went by.
What's the time frame on this landscape difficulty? Are we going to see it maybe potentially first on a kind of a special server, first on live? Do we have any kind of thoughts on the timeline on that? I'm not sure I know personally.
I'm actually thinking that maybe the new servers will see it first, and then we'll move it on to the current servers if we do new servers. I'm not announcing anything on that. But the other thing is to put it on the current servers and then move it. So there's some benefits and detriments for both. So that's something that is an ongoing discussion.
Yeah, weirdly, the answer is yes, people. My USB microphone just stopped working. Let me replug that in. You are, if all of a sudden I sound different, it's because all of a sudden. Anyway, you can sound fine. It's just me that is off.
Yeah, if you're talking about classic servers, in order to do that, we would need. We do not have. Ooh. Can you still hear me?
We should be able to hear you, yeah.
Okay, my stream just seemed to
explode.
Yeah.
They should be able to hear you though, and they can hear me, but I sound like I'm coming from like a speakerphone kind of. So.
Yeah, I wonder if.
Yeah.
Oh, they're saying that plugging in your USB killed your camera.
My camera.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yay, we're back. Okay,
all
where
right.
was trying to answer the hard questions, Warden questions. So like I said at the beginning of the stream, deep diving into class balance is out of the scope of these streams. I love it. I love talking class balance, but like spending 30 minutes talking the specifics of a single class, which I love doing, is probably not something that we want to do in this stream.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yep.
Let's see. So
sorry, folks.
Unfortunately, when we went dead, I missed a whole bunch of bunch of questions. So if you're mad at me for not answering your question, just restart it.
We've got time to get back on track. By the way, folks, I don't know what happened to my microphone here, and I'm not going to dig behind my computer to fix it. So welcome to webcam C920 audio from there we go. So
Honestly,
I'm
not
just
that
going to
bad.
deal with that. Yeah,
Oh,
I think
great.
I'm there. It just probably sounds not real good.
Unfortunately, when we looked into it, the old code is not in a state that we could do that. I don't even think the old code, the classic code, would even work on current networks. Like there's been significant network tech made to make it work, like on in our and I don't think the old classic stuff would even work with virtualization. So no, it just that is unlikely to ever happen. Ongoing, so mission questions, ongoing rewards for missions. We want to, in the future, have those more consolidated so that you can basically do whichever missions you want for your weekly and have good rewards. I would expect that you'll see some of that in Blood of Azog, but really Gundabad will be our time to revamp like how missions work organically.
I saw a chat earlier that I can't find now when I'm scrolling, but they had asked a little bit about what we can expect from the further adventures of Bilbo Baggins. Was it going to be maybe more like a Bingo Boffin sort of thing? But I figured we could answer that. This is a set of missions with these further adventures here.
So one of the things that we want to do, and that a lot of the players ask for, our lore players, and a lot of the devs would like to do, is there are many times where there are stories that have happened that we would love to kind of explore. And further adventures give us a chance to explore characters that maybe we would like to do but aren't relevant to the current epic story. So for instance, giving the further adventures of Bilbo Baggins is obviously a character that you would kind of like to see what happened. So this is a story thread that you can follow that is fun and explores and opens up sort of the what's the term I want to look for? It builds on previous stories or maybe opens up new options for stories that we wouldn't otherwise be able to tell. And the reason that we use mission tech is so that anyone of any level can play it, but it's not meant to be, it's not really meant to feel like missions normally. These are more of a story thread that the instances use a similar tech, but it really should feel different. This first one is a little longer than we would normally do it. So it's probably twice as long as the shorter threads we'd like to do in the future, sort of to introduce the players to the concept. So rather than having like several shorter ones, we have one longer one, but this is something that is not something that you're going to play. You can definitely repeat it and get rewards from it, but it's meant to be something that, like, when we put it out, you can play on different alts and it's a shorter play experience. So I'm pretty excited about it because it's so different from like the other stuff we can do. And if you're like really into the story of Lotro, which, I mean, who isn't, it'll give our designers a chance to open up avenues to explore stories that we might not otherwise have had a chance to.
I can't spoil e-commerce's kind of work that'll be happening this week, but I would mention in terms of how you'll acquire the further adventures of Bilbo Baggins, stay tuned. We'll have more information come Monday. So,
Yep.
I saw a question over on Facebook that seemed like something we could answer. Dieter asks, why are our missions currently capped at 10 per hour, same as instances? Is there any chance to put them on a different maximum number per hour? I know that we had looked into that, so we might be able to speak a bit to our ability to maybe offer more.
The 10 instances per hour is there because opening a new instance is expensive, as evidenced by the fact that people have been asking, well, opening up an instance takes a lot of my time. So we want to make sure that people can't spam instances over and over again. And so we have kept that cap in for performance reasons. As we look to it, maybe missions have a smaller amount to load, and we may be able to release that cap. But right now, while we're all working on lag, we are a little wary and maybe more cautious than we should be about introducing the ability to open up more and more instances. And that's the honest reason why we haven't increased the amount of 10 yet. As long as the missions have a much lower cost to the server than full instances, that shouldn't be a problem. But on the other hand, until we get this chat stuff under control and such, we don't want to add another variable to the mix right now.
Yeah, there we go. So what about this idea? We have someone, Pirates on Facebook, saying, after listening to our LI discussion, saying, you know what? Can't we just kill the LI system, burn it to the ground, and start fresh? What do you think about that idea?
Ooh, that's a hard question. So, how can I put this? We want players to have things to do while they are leveling. I know that some players are like, oh, this is too grindy, and sometimes we overdo it. But grindy doesn't scare me as much as I don't have enough to do. I have enough to do. I don't have enough to do is worse, because players want to play the game, but they don't really have goals to pursue. So by taking out the LI system and not replacing it with something cool that you can do, a couple things happen. One is that the players become much more reliant on weapon drops. And if they don't get the weapon drop that they want, their DPS will lag much more than other types of content. And two, a weapon drop is one and done. We want to make sure that when they get a weapon, they can then develop it and do other things to grind. I'm reading the grindy stuff. Do other things to develop that weapon. And one of the things about the legendary weapons, at least, in addition to legendary items, is that because it's part of the normal gameplay, we can predict where your weapon will be, and because so much of your DPS comes from your weapon, it's easier to determine where they are. Like if you don't upgrade your weapon because you got unlucky on drops or stuff, that can really affect your DPS. Now, that doesn't mean that we haven't kept the pendulum maybe swung too far in the other direction, and we want new ways to develop legendary items that give more choice and are more about slotting and stuff. So you can like advance your legendary weapon, you can slot different things into it. That's much easier to understand. The second problem with the LI system is that there's two phases to it. Both are very complex, and you have to understand both, because you get to a point in the game where you have to move from one system to a completely different system. So that is something that we want to solve as well, because that is an issue for players coming in. It just requires so much knowledge and research in order to figure out what to do, that we want to make the system a little better.
Mark over on Facebook said, please remember, we are also allowed 50 alts, and many of us have many, many characters as well. I think we do understand that as we're looking to this LI work in the future. That this isn't just for one character or one item. This is for many players, multiple items on multiple characters.
Yeah, ideally what will happen is that as things move on, the LI system in the past will get easier and easier to do. And then the LI system, at the cutting edge, will still give players plenty to do.
Cool.
Let's see, what else?
Someone's been petitioning a bit on Twitch chat to bring back good loot to old scaled instances. That's always a challenge for itemization, to bring older content up, and to some extent, you also want to focus on newer content rather than old. It's a lovely idea and a largely impossible task to keep all loot in an MMO current to today's standards,
Right. The one thing we have to be careful of is we have a lot of people that really like doing our raids, and if they feel that they aren't rewarding because you can just go and do the old scaled instances for the same loot, then people won't engage our new content. So players like to do stuff that's comfortable, but sometimes that gets old and stale, and you have to encourage them to do something new, even though it's like I don't want to say scary, but like sometimes I just kind of don't want to learn the new content and I need to be encouraged with good loot. And so we want to make sure that we don't take away that encouragement to go out and try something new because relearning sometimes, is I don't want to say a challenge. I don't want to say a chore because it's fun, but it does knock you out of the comfortable play style you may be in. I know that a lot of people are talking about work on Instance Finder and Instance of the Day, and those are all good things, but probably not this year because our tech is for other things currently. We don't have a plan for a level squish. It's not off the table. We just don't have a current plan to it because it's a lot of work, and you have to be careful because at the end there can be you could spend a whole year doing level squish, and then end up to have a situation where the game is just as fun to play as it is now. So you want to be careful on level squishes that you don't spend a lot and get very little.
I would say in regard to featured instances, there might be some room this year to adjust our featured instance rotation. I know that we were a little behind in updating our featured instance rotation, so that might be something we could do here. So.
Yeah. Are there any plans for forest theme housing? Housing is always on the table, not this year, but I would imagine that we'll see housing at some point in the future. I don't have anything to announce there. Thank you for the cool comments. I appreciate you, and I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're supporting our game. I really love our players. Let's see.
Have you seen the Russian Lotro movie? Lord of the Rings movie? Did you see that was making the rounds of the internet, that Russian Lord of the Rings movie?
I did
Yep.
see of it. I have not
Okay.
watched it yet because I only watched one scene. But yeah, I should go through there just to see what they did with Tom Bombadil.
Someone on Facebook is asking what we thought of it. I think it's sweet. But then again, I'm judging it based on kind of the conditions in which it was made and everything too. And I think they did really good.
I mean,
they
I
did
think
an
that,
amazing job, actually.
yeah, I think someone is talking about like, hey, don't click on stuff in game or give your password to people who may be pretending to be game masters. Since we have a lot of new players, I should reiterate that. Like, there are a lot of players that get in trouble because they've given someone their password. They find that their account got stripped or they lost control of it. Don't do that. Like, it's not worth it. It'll take it. On backing out of that is time consuming for you, and like, so just be careful. The more you know, right? Like, this is a public service announcement. I've done my due diligence in warning people not to do that. So.
I'm trying to see. There's a couple of people who wanted us to answer their question. They're a little concerned it got buried. I have to admit, I'm not seeing your question, so maybe re-ask it. I'll see what we can do.
Throw it on. I apologize.
Yeah.
There's stuff going past fast. I'm not trying to not answer questions. The Elder Slade. So there's a lot of stuff talking about specific mission rewards. Again, I think that deep diving into the specifics of it is probably out of scope of this. But one of the things that we've been discussing is to have a universal mission rewards, so that the idea is we reward you for X amount of missions, and then you can choose what missions you want to do to get that reward. So when new content comes out, you can do those missions instead of the old ones. So you always have something to do. That's something long-term that we want to do. I think talking about specifics missions and specific content right now is like, there's a lot of questions going by, and that would be a time-consuming thing. So legendary item system we're working on, we'll have more to announce. I think that the new system is cool, and people will be pleased with it once they kind of figure it out. But, we want to be careful because there are people that like legendary items, so we want to make sure that when the new system comes out that they feel rewarded. The skirmish system has both old tech as part of the content and has old reward schemes that would have to be completely revamped. The other problem with the skirmish system is that the tech does not do scaling well. So in order to add skirmishes, the whole thing would need to be revamped. So we would have to, maybe we'll do it at some point, but we would need, like, in order to, we can't just chip add that system has to be overhauled before we feel comfortable adding stuff to the skirmish system. That's why we've been reluctant to add to it, because we know that it kind of needs an overhaul, and that's a lot of work up front. So we want to make sure that when we do it, we kind of do it all at once and we do it correctly. Usually the low caps are to prevent people from saving up on old content so much that when we release new content, they don't have to do the new content. They just run and buy all the new stuff immediately. It means that, like, you have to at some point slow down when you have acquired all of the stuff now, and then when future stuff comes out, you start playing again when other players are playing that content at the same time. That's usually the strategy for that. Now, sometimes those numbers we can tweak those numbers, but that's overall what we're doing. Warden, oh man, I would love to talk about deep dive on class stuff, but that's out of the, like, specific stuff for class balance is out of the scope of these talks. I apologize.
I would say for those, there was a couple of comments about, they'd like us to make some content changes in missions, maybe to add a little more story or make them a little more, I don't know, just do some changes with it. I guess I would just say we are open to hearing your feedback on missions in terms of how to make them as exciting and fun for you as they can. We have been playing around with that some, as you see, since War of Three Peaks, and that's kind of part of what this Further Adventures is a little bit too. So
yeah.
So, we'll see what we can do there, right?
It'll be interesting to look at Further Adventures, because if you're looking for a higher, like, we want a wide variety of content. We don't want every single content to be like this massive story stuff, because sometimes you just want to go on and do a bunch of missions and have fun with it. But like with Further Adventures, that is the exact kind of thing where we're trying to use mission tech to tell a much richer and varied story. And so one of the things is, that's why we're so excited about Monday. It takes that kind of tech and uses it in a completely different way. And even though that will be like a thing that you can play through, it will be very interesting to see how everybody reacts to it, whether they like it, what feedback they have for that kind of format. So yeah, like that some of these questions are exactly why you're seeing Further Adventures. The 64-bit client should probably be the default now. I think that that's one of those things that flies under radar. I think that we've proven out that the 64-bit client is as stable as the 32-bit one, and I think that, like, the 32-bit one still has issues in memory-intensive areas like Minnesota. So. Thank you for the kind words.
I too am in favor of a batch apply for Scrolls of Empowerment, although there may be performance reasons why that's not possible. I don't know.
How many devs or QAs have worked on Lotro since the very beginning? Like, I think everyone's very beginning is different. Like I am not actually a very beginning person. I got onto Lotro relatively late, and so but we have some people who have been here for a long time. Let's just say that there are some studios that are shocked when we have anniversaries for employees, like how many years, that they have just been contributing their awesomeness and pouring their heart into this game. So
some HR department is like, wait, what do we do for 15? I don't know. There's like 6 of them, right? Yeah.
So that's awesome. Let's see. So for the CS, we had some issue where our CS tools actually went down for a significant amount of time related to some issues. Why don't I just say that 4 times? I apologize. if I seem scattered. We did have our tools go down. They are back up now. We're still catching up. And we have a number of new tools that will allow us to address issues while you're offline that should speed up things. That development of new CS tools that will allow our CS people to kick even more ass than they do are ongoing. They have not been deployed yet, so you won't see that for another couple months. Once they get deployed and we get trained and the people get trained on it, they should be able to go through and help people. The other cool thing is that we've moved a couple of our CS agents into as permanent employees, so we're excited about that. So that was exciting, and that just recently happened. So all of that is happening currently. But
I think it is worth mentioning the reality that today, as we're recording this, our customer service team is dealing with a pretty big backlog, and they are working through that. But things are slower right now today than we would like them to be.
Yeah, that is for sure, and that's not on CS. That is usually a tools issue and just a ticket issue as well. Gundabad is still on schedule. I was talking to the world builders and the people starting to put stuff onto the landscape, and they were like super excited about it. And we already have people starting to make, working on quests for it and systems for it. So yeah, like Gundabad, it looks good now. I mean, obviously working remotely is an ongoing challenge that the team has risen to very well, but there's always things that can happen on that. We're always looking at cool ways to do book stuff. We just did the Great Wedding, so I know that you're all eager for that, but there's a lot that happens between there. Will high tiers of the new 3-mans from Wildwood be added to the Legendary server? That's actually a good question. Normally, we would wait until late for Wildwood to kind of be on the Legendary server, but because it's still open, how that rolls out on the Legendary server is actually a fine question that I'll have to look at and ask the team what plans they have. I don't have that off the top of my head. That's interesting. I apologize. I should know that. Oh, interesting. The 3D vision sounds cool. Like, be interested. I wonder why that doesn't work on 64-bit. I haven't done a deep dive. Further information about update 30, the Blood of Azog, right? That's the one after Further Adventures. No, it's too early. It is more of a lead into Gundabad than Wildwood is. So yeah, that'll be cool when that comes out.
And I think it's safe to say it does focus on the storyline, with Durin and the Legacy of the Dwarves, right?
Yeah. Bjorning action bars, that's probably a deep dive into Bjorning, so that I don't have an answer for you on that. And that might be a little kind of technical for this forum. Website and forum. Yes, we definitely need to update the website and forum.
Thank you for asking, Bloodborne.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. We wanted to get it done too. It's a pain.
Kind of
it's a pain for us too.
Yeah, like it's one of the action items in our weekly thing that we're going through. We are trying to get a block of time for our web team to do that. The Tom Bombadil voice change, there's a lot of reasons to do that. Sometimes just the old actor isn't available, so you kind of have to come to that realization. It's always hard doing voiceover when like you want to continue and a voice actor is no longer available. It's something that all games that have long tails have to deal with. You have a beloved character and suddenly the voice actor change. What do? Do you update the old stuff so that it's consistent, or do you let like the voice sound different in the middle? Like voiceover is really hard for a 15-year game. How many people are still available? So
I think in general we've fallen on the don't re-record earlier. And let the earlier performance kind of be the performance.
Understand.
Yeah. I think that's usually what we do. Usually.
Bjorning bear form emotes, interesting. Yeah, I'll bring that up to Art. That might be something that we can do as part of a festival thing where Bjorning can sort of start to gain emotes for their bear form. New instruments are always a thing that we want to do. I know that like Bill is super excited whenever we do that, so I would not be surprised to see new instruments at some point in the future.
We have Stefan and some others kind of asking us to talk more about when on Guardian work. I know that that's a frequent topic in Twitch chat about when we might be able to prioritize like Guardian Warden, Runekeeper, Lore Master are probably the top 4 that I see most often in Twitch chat. Do we have any thoughts on the when on class balance?
When it'll be ongoing. Like hopefully we'll have like some changes in the upcoming months. Probably not as many as people would like because we're also working on Gundabad. But I know that the systems team wants to kind of hit that up and make a lot of small changes as they bring the things in balance. I don't think that we're going to be doing like a giant revamp, at least not until Gundabad is out. So I would expect that the changes you will see will be incremental. I believe that when I talked to System, the Guardian was definitely one of the ones that they were talking about, though. So we'll see how that goes on.
Yeah, I recognize that Lore Master may be a little bit of a controversial topic, even suggesting that it needs work or not. Right?
Oh my God. Yeah. So yeah, let's keep this civil and not bring up like Lore Master and start doing right? Because there are some people with some feels about all of those, especially if you feel your favorite class is underpowered or you're happy with your class and don't want it to be messed with. So that's one of the reasons I don't want to go into the specifics of class balance. It's a long process that needs a lot of player feedback, and that's one of the reasons why it goes slow. There are things behind the scenes that we try and they don't play well, and so that you have to kind of discard that. We want to be very careful on class balance.
I kind of like Bloodborne's question about why are we bringing in another class to the game? What's Brawler about?
So we have a Helm Hammerhand who has a lot of lore that it revolves around like punching people. And so one of the ways that we can kind of expand and make the game sound fresh, make the lore sound fresh is by kind of exploring things we haven't. The other thing is that a lot of people like playing through the old content and don't have a reason to do. A class is a good reason to kind of go through content and explore and do new things, particularly if there are new servers. For instance, if you go to the legendary server and start with a new class. So so that's good.
And I think we've found an experience of class play that people are gonna, some people are really gonna dig.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, one of the things is I'm not good at this because I'm reading the questions as I'm trying to answer, and you can hear me tripping up. So I apologize to everyone on that because now there's so many good questions, and like I have 3 minutes. I'm like, okay, what am I gonna answer? So there's a lot of stuff here. We're always looking for reasons to have new stuff in the game. We haven't done a class for a long time, so we're kind of excited about doing something to add that. And then ongoing class balance is something that we're always looking at, and we will continue to work on that. And yeah, so though that's that. Let's see. Why can't these streams be longer?
We have to get back to work is really
Yeah,
the answer to
let's
that.
get back to work. Also, like going through the questions and answering stuff without like saying something that, you know, everybody will copy and paste it as a meme is actually mentally tiring. After an hour of answering questions, it's like, you know, I would want, if we did a longer one, I would want to take like a 10-minute rest because, like, for instance, I'm out of coffee. So that's honestly a reason for doing that. I don't have like the polished, savvy way about me like Cordovan has. So for me, this is much harder.
Well, so one of the questions that's come up throughout the hour that I know that we haven't really gotten to, and I don't know that we actually have a lot we can say on it either, but what about this idea out there that's been put into that one investor presentation slide, et cetera, about a graphics update for LoTro? What's the deal with that? What are we thinking?
What are we thinking? So we have a number of things that we're looking at, and all of those, the approach of that can have a wide variety of approaches. So we're always looking for what we can do to improve LoTro as a whole, but we want to make sure it makes sense, that if we spend that much, that the game will be so improved that it's worth the investment. A graphic overhaul, I'm sure no one is surprised, is expensive in time and effort. And so we want to make sure that we don't throw ourselves into that, and then all of the content and other cool goodies slow down to a crawl while the players are waiting around. And at the end, the game does look better, but not enough to warrant the time. So that's always something that we're looking for. So as we look for different approaches, it's a very complex process of like, okay, what do we expect the player joy to be after this? And will the player joy of having kind of new stuff warrant this much? The other thing is, there is also an approach of adding the tools and new things to the graphics piece by piece and putting it over the course of like 2 years. So all of those things are being discussed right now and how we want to approach that. But the nice thing is, like, our company as a whole is super excited about LoTro, which I'm just pleased at. Like they are asking about it, and we're discussing strategies for it all the time. So we're super engaged in that.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say, maybe, is it safe to say that we recognize there's the chatter out there, but we just don't really have anything to announce, right?
4K UI is definitely something that even if we need 4K UI, I 100% agree. Regardless of what happens, that is something that we need to address. Scaling UI is the other thing, but scaling UI is actually hard because redoing all of the graphical elements in the game is actually, like, when we actually scoped out how much that takes, holy crap, it's not something you really think about, but like every single icon has to be redone in the game, and that's like a lot of hours of work. So that is like, you start digging into the weeds of what this takes, and it's like things you don't really think about. Well, I didn't, right, back in the day when I wasn't in the business, are like huge impediments to doing that. I don't know. What do you think? What did you see something that like passed by that I didn't get to? Well, why don't we take the last 3 minutes and we'll do a bonus 5 minutes of
Oh, and I'm muted again. Sorry. Yeah, I was just saying, let's do a last round of questions. My big last question was really the graphics one. Let's see what else we can.
Keep in mind too that vector graphics are very hard to produce for the artists because they're used to kind of doing it, doing a painting thing. And so unless you have really good stuff that can take a painted image and turn it into vector graphics, working in vector graphics as an illustrator is hard.
I'm an old retro game guy. I'm like, ooh, a version of Loacher that looks like Asteroids or Tempest or something? That sounds great.
I don't think that Asteroids was really...
It's a laser on the screen, remember?
Yeah, when they talk about vector, when they talk about vector, they're not talking about like when graphics were drawn pointed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that that's what they mean.
Yeah. Sorry, the mic issue is because I know it's coming from the webcam, and so it's going to be kind of noisy. So I'm muting when I'm not talking.
Okay, so.
All right, let's wrap it up then. We've got the Tolkien professor here coming in just a couple of minutes over on Twitch. The archive of this is going to be over on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch here in just a little bit. We're going to have you back in about a month or so, and we're really getting ready to kick off the anniversary. So happy anniversary, Loacher, all right? So.
Yeah, good week, fun stuff coming up. So that's awesome.
Yep. Stay tuned for a downtime on update 29.5. Further adventures next week, legendary server update next week, and the anniversary event next